Yeah, today we've got
Paul. He's from. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, your name, what your company is?
Yeah. I'm Paul Hilton. I've worked in Mosside for 30 years now.
Okay.
And about 5-6 years ago, decided to sort of step out of the shadows that I was in and open up for myself.
Okay, and this is
now,
in
Paul Hilton Funeral Services.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have an office in Mosside and another office in Gatley. So so I've been working with the community for a long time.
For many years.
And so it's interesting.
What made you, like, for one, what made you get into like funeral work and like early life? What led you into getting into like funerals?
Oh, that's $1 million question, because I was a baker.
Right,
I'm actually
Qualified baker.
Master baker.
Master baker.
Yeah, and that's my trade originally.
I didn't even know you had master bakers.
Went from school.
Yeah.
Went from school to college.
Right,
went from college to baking. Had my own bakery.
Was it? Where was this?
In Whitefield.
Right. Okay.
So I had my own
down the road.
had my own bakery for years, and then death, changes your life. So if you have a death in your family, it changes your life. If it's a close relative.
Yeah.
So my father died, and my dad lived in Spain, so I didn't see him every day. But anyway, so when he died, we had to go over to Spain for a funeral. And at that point, I was about 30 odd, and I thought, I've not really done anything in my life. I became a baker, and that's it. Okay. Where my dad was a bit of a Jack the Lad, a bit of a Del Boy type of character, and as I say, lived quite an interesting life. Yeah. And I think the death of him made me reassess myself. And I thought, I just felt myself, I could do something different and help people, or instead of working on my own all the time during the night, because a baker sort of works overnight, so everything's nice and fresh in the morning when you go into the shop. Yeah. And I didn't see anybody. I worked on my own. Yeah. And
you just fancied a change.
And I filled in, to be honest with you, the story is, I filled in an article from the newspaper, and the BBC were making a programme about wanted to make a programme about somebody changing their life.
Oh, right, okay.
So I filled it in, they phoned me up, and they went, what would you like to do? And I sort of went, well, I'd like to work with, dead bodies.
Right, okay.
So that must have triggered something in there, because at the BBC next minute all turned up at my house.
It's a bit like fate, really.
Yeah, and then set this process in. Yeah. And I ended up at the Co-op in Chiltern.
So did they kind of help you to get into the job as well?
Well, what they did was they got me work experience.
Yeah.
There was no guarantee of a job, and they said that to me. There's no guarantee of a job. Yeah. But if a job comes up, and we'll follow you through the process. So they made this program, and so I was to give me the work experience, and I did all. So I was baking in the night time.
You were still
There's somebody outside the bakery with a car, pick me up, bring me down to Moss Side to do my work experience as in funerals. Then somebody at that funeral home had left, so there was a vacancy. So I applied for the vacancy. Yeah. It looks like it was staged, but it wasn't. I applied for the vacancy and got it.
So could people find this?
Yeah. It's called Apply Immediately. Okay. If you look on YouTube, Apply Immediately, Baker to Undertaker. No, unfortunately, my face comes up. And then there's an hour programme that follows the process.
Okay.
But that was like 2000.
Yeah.
That was just after my dad died.
Right,
so you changed my life.
You took up that trade late then, innit?
Pardon?
You took up that trade late.
Yeah. Because in my head, I was a baker. I was born to bake. Yeah. Right. I wasn't even thinking of anything different.
Well, did you say from school to your 30s? You've been doing it a long time, haven't you?
So and I never ever entered my head, but the death of my father. Yeah. And reassessed my life. I had to sort of step back. Yeah. And I used to go into the university in Manchester for nurses that are finishing their final year of training and talk about how death and what they nurse somebody to a death and we take over from what they do. So I used to go in and talk to them and say, my opening gambit was death changed your life, because it changed my life. Yeah. So that's the experience I've got. And if you think about it yourself, if you've got an elderly loved one and you cook for him, you clean for him, you go then and, you know, take them the meals or whatever you do, soon as something happens to them, that all stops. Your life's different again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I always used to open up with death changes your life, and it changed mine, and that's why I'm here.
So what made you like doing the funeral? What made you end up like being in Moss Side as working as a funeral director?
Well, basically, when we was doing the filming, they got me because in Chorlton there used to be a massive big co-op. It was in a cinema. And they used to have everything under one roof, so it was easy to film there. Because they could film coffins, they could film deceased, they had lots of a big garage with cars in. So the BBC, who were filming at the time, they focused on that building because they didn't have to travel around Manchester. Because you know yourself. So they focused on that building, and that's where I initially got the job. And then one day somebody said to me in there, the short over at Leach's in Moss Side, will you go over and help him out? So I went, yeah, because I'm just eager to learn. So goes over to Leach's, walks in there, thinking, well, you know, this is so different to where I've just come. 7 minutes away in a car, you've got two totally opposites.
It's
two totally opposites.
It's mad,
so I'm there thinking, whoa, what's going on here? Anyway,
so was that your first experience in Moss Side?
Yeah, Moss Side, Although my grandparents lived in Whalley Range, so I knew the area.
So it's only across the road.
Yeah, I knew the area. And my uncle was still alive, and he lived in Whalley Range. So when the job came up and I came to work down South Manchester, because I live in Bury, I stayed down here because it was easier to go and see my uncle. He lived on his own. So it was convenient. But obviously, I get into the community and, you know, start doing some of these high-profile funerals and some of the, you know, to me, the amazing funerals at Moss Side, you know, they're the opposite to what a white English guy would normally expect. And I just got taken up by the way things are done and the community, the way the community do things, and a lot of the traditions from back home. You know.
So give me a little example, because I'm not saying many white people might understand. So what's the difference between like a traditional British funeral and like a black people Jamaican funeral, Caribbean funeral?
The biggest difference is when you get to the cemetery and you lower the coffin. We leave. You guys fill in, decorate the grave, have singing at the grave. We go there, the priest says, you know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, lower your coffin, off we go. Whereas in this community, that's the start of the celebration.
It is really, isn't it?
And that's the difference. We mourn,
we
Caribbean
celebrate death,
and that's an easy sort of expression of the difference, but it's a fact.
Right, okay, so that is a good way of putting it. Europeans more mourn the death and the Caribbeans kind of celebrate the death.
It's not that they're not upset and they're not. It's not that. It's just that they just think, you know, we celebrate and that's why they have a funeral on a Friday, because the celebrations can carry on to Saturday, Sunday, and go to work on Monday.
Yeah, everyone have hangover.
Tell us about your experiences. Like you said, you've done high profile things. Like obviously we can't go into details, names and things, but like how have you dealt with some of the high profiles with murders and like probably with the police and little things like that? Can you give us any?
Like, do you have to have intel with the police over safety and whatnot?
To be fair, I've done a lot of very high profile funerals, and I learnt from the very first one I did. And the very first one I did opened my eyes because basically, when you leave a house, excuse me, you page. It's called paging away from the house. You know, when the funeral director walks in front, that's called paging. So I was doing this funeral local to Great Western Street and paging, and I was about to page. So I'm stood in front of the horse and carriage, and then this police officer comes up with a rifle and a vest, you know, a bulletproof vest. And he stood next to me. So he says to me, well, I said to him, I said, what are you doing there? He went, I'm your protection. So I went, give me protection. I said, giving me your jacket and your gun would be better than you stood there, because by the time they took a shot at me, it's too late. So anyway, he laughed, walked off. And from there on in, you know, most of the high-profile funerals that we do, it is quite intense, because obviously you've got you got to keep the police happy.
Yeah.
You got to keep the community happy.
Yeah.
Got to keep the family happy.
Yeah.
So all of them things.
Balance.
I've never really thought though about the police involvement. So the police do get involved with with this
They must do on high profiles, innit, in case.
They want to know which route you're going.
Oh, right.
And in the day when there was the Gooch and the two gangs on in Moss Side, you couldn't cross a certain area.
Yeah.
Now I was lucky.
So you couldn't have brought a page through Gooch Estate over to walk down through Donington Estate.
No, you
obviously.
couldn't. You couldn't. I was lucky because if there was something happened in one gang, they'd come to me for the funeral. Yeah. And if something happened in the other gang, they'd come to me for the funeral. Right, but I couldn't cross, and I had to know where to go and where not to go. Yeah. And obviously I had to liaise with the police because obviously. You know, it's just inflames things, and we've had situations, you know, in the past where, you know, we got to the cemetery at the wake, something's happened at the wake, and then there's another funeral. So you've got, you know, it is quite a stressful thing, and sometimes once the coffin's lowered and you've done your bit and you've left, it's like take a breather, and then. Yeah. But and I think because you do sometimes do one or two, you seem to get others because the police know you, the police understand what you do. One of the biggest problems is the community wanting to do their bit. Right. And their bit is stopping traffic. So you know what I'm talking about. So their bit is stopping traffic. Yeah. Now, you can imagine that they want to stop the traffic, the local guys in the community, and the police don't want you to go through a red light. They're just fighting each other, and somebody in the middle's got to go. Well, you've got to give us a little bit of, and you've got to give a little bit for us to get wherever we want to go.
So, do you get there in the end?
Absolutely, I've got there great.
So it takes a lot. You need good negotiation skills as well.
You don't realise you've got them things. I don't think because when you see something and you go and step up to go. You know, there are people that will go, all right, you go, Paul, or you go, John, or whoever you are. Yeah. And there are people that will just walk up and go, what's the problem? Right, leave it with me. What's your problem? Leave it with me. Right, here's a compromise. Are you happy with the compromise? Are you happy with the compromise? And we get where we need to be. Yeah.
You see, people don't know things like this. Like we don't.
A lot of it happens behind the scenes. Exactly. A lot of it happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, we didn't know that. Like obviously, you know, you work with a lot of people. I know, you work in the community. You might see people growing up, like kids growing up, and then we know there's been death of kids from stabbings. Like, how does it affect you? Like, if you're knowing the people, like, it's personal, like mental health. Why is that your own mental health?
Does it take a toll on you?
Most of the funerals I do, I know them because obviously I know the community
at least.
Right? So most of the funerals I do now. Some of them are elderly people, and you've seen them. You know, getting towards the end of their life, and you know that. But obviously, I'm a human, so when something drastic happened and some young kid's been stabbed or shot, you know, I've got kids myself. You know, you can't help but stop and think, and you know, thank God sometimes that you know it's not happened in your life into your family, and all you can then do is. Try to help these people as much as you can. Yeah. I mean, earlier in the year, I lost my brother, my elder brother, in January, and I was really close to him, and I was there all the night and when he passed away. Now I do this job every day in my life, but doing him and his funeral and his children, it's totally different.
And you actually done the funeral, did you?
And it's totally different. And now I'm thinking I've got to be big and strong and tough because that's what I do. But inside here, you know, you're in bits, aren't you? And you know, while you put the brave face on,
inside,
I'm human like you. So when anybody else is grieving their loved one, I have to grieve my loved one. But people sometimes think because you do it every day, it's just a job. Paul will sort it.
But obviously,
it's not like that. It's hard. And when you walk into situations that remind you of that. So when you know, my brother died at home and he was poorly. So when you go into somebody else's house and you see the same setup, the bed's in a similar place, all the nurses are there, it's sort of, it's like you're back to square one again. So it does affect you, and it would be wrong to say it doesn't.
Do you How do you think it's changed over the years from your side of things, doing the funerals? Do you feel like you're doing more younger funerals, or are you doing less? From say the 80s and the early 90s?
Yeah, I think back in the day when there was a lot of trouble in Moss Side, you could be doing, there was a lot of young men, that never got to see, never got to grow old because of the tit for tat thing. So you did quite a lot. Then obviously there was a period where it all calmed down, and there was nothing. So you never got never got sort of. You never got sort of anything of that side, on a regular basis. Recently, with they've taken to a knife rather than a gun. Recently now, it seems to be.
Can you see it?
One or two more, and you read about it more in the papers, not just Moss
even
Side,
if you're not
all over the country.
I
mean, there's a perception about Moss Side that needs to be dispelled. About the type.
There's a lot worse places, a lot of better things going on.
Listen. I only ever speak good of Moss Side because it's been good to me. So, but the thing is, there is a thing that people go, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you had that all your years working in Moss Side? Like even back in the days, what did you?
Like
what people would say? Like you said, you worked in Moss Side.
Yeah, they're like, whoa! I've offered people a job.
Yeah.
Right, when I was at Leach's, and I offered people a job and said, I've got a vacancy. I want to come and work with you, Paul. Right, where are you based? Moss Side.
Seriously.
I'll go home and have a word with my wife, see what she says, and never seen him again.
Yeah, it has. It has got. Now, like I say, for me, I've.
What do you feel of the community then?
Listen, it's the most amazing community that I've ever been involved in my life, because every aspect of the community, even people who who have got a reputation, they're just like, I mean. And not because you do funerals, because if you interact with them, they interact with you. Sometimes the perception of people put that before they actually meet the person and shake their hand and have a chat with them and find out what they're really like. They just got this perception that
which is mad, because we can understand it from going back years ago, but even now the media and whatnot, we talk about this a lot on our show. The media and whatnot just trying to keep Moss Side in that dark place, aren't they? I do. We don't know.
At the end of the day, they're not in.
Right about it, innit?
Maybe it sells. Maybe it sells newspapers.
There's a thing though. There's no news in good news. There's only news in bad news.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if there's anything good happen, they're not really interested.
They're not.
So if you went to somebody and said, "Oh, I've done this and I've done that," the community's done this.
Negativity sells, innit?
It does, and that's the problem. And that's the problem. So Moss Side, the negativity that's come out of Moss Side in the past fuels their interest. Not the good stuff. Not the good stuff. And that's the sad thing.
People think it's like a movie, don't they?
Yeah. That's the sad thing.
When, like we just said, there's much worse places out there now.
Yeah,
a lot higher crime, a lot higher knife crime.
When there was a few years ago that a young man was killed in Moss Side. And on the same day in Stockport, there were 3 killings.
Right, okay.
And nobody heard about the 3 killings.
No,
only the one killing in
3
Moss
in one
Side.
day, So
there's your evidence.
There you go.
There's your evidence. There's no news on it in Stockport. But in Moss Side, that's what's expected, and that's where the news is, and that's where all the bands turn up the cameras.
I was wanting to know, like, obviously since COVID times, like, there's been a lot of people, like, do you see like the pattern with, like, since COVID and the amount of the ratio of people dying in the area itself?
Well, the people I work with, and obviously the cemeteries and everything like that, we believe COVID has hit the Asian community massively. Massively hit the Asian community. The Caribbean community, they're wary of the inoculations to protect you.
Right.
So, I mean, the very first COVID.
I mean, like I don't think you can say that on YouTube these days.
The very first COVID case, we were told as funeral directors, when COVID comes, right, you're going to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're going to be burying multiple bodies. And that never happened. Right, The first, so say COVID started on 1st of January. The first COVID case I dealt with was in March, and I knew him, and he was a big man, and I was shocked when I saw him. In the 2 months.
Big as in weighty almost.
Yeah. You know when they built like a brick shed? That's what he was like. And I'd done his mum's funeral in December, and in the March he's in my care. as the very first COVID case, and I thought, COVID's got him. We've had it. Because he was big, strong, and anyway, so I'm thinking, I've got to prepare now to get to be.
And you were a bit.
It wasn't like that.
Right. Okay.
But what do you think after COVID now? Because a lot of deaths have happened in Moss Side.
They have, yeah, and people are saying because they've had an injection or whatever. Now I had to have to be able to look after these people. I had no choice.
But to have
the injections was compulsory.
Right,
Either that or you stay at home.
Yeah.
Right. So we had to have every injection. We were first in the queue. Yeah. So if they needed a guinea pig, we were the guinea pigs. Okay. Now touch wood. I'm still here. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Touch wood. So it's about personal perception of, you know, and people come up with conspiracy theories or whatever. All I can tell you is I had every single one to be able to carry on and look after people. So
you know what? Everybody's different. Everybody's going to take.
You can take an aspirin and it'll cure your headache. I'll take one and it doesn't.
It could stop your heart. Exactly.
So I just think it's a difficult one to actually quantify.
Yeah, and it's a whole new conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you want for the future? Like, you know, where do you see future? Like the company, you know, yourself, your retirement or whatever. What do you see yourself?
See, there's the big. That's a big. It's a great question and a big problem because ultimately I started this. I came out of what I was doing to start this, and I wasn't sure that it would be successful. Okay.
When you made the leap to go working for yourself. Yeah.
So, and I was told by the community to do it.
Oh right. Okay.
So I was told by, and I was like, but what if you what if you don't do it? What if you do it? So I was very wary about. And also, I didn't really understand what the people in the community thought about me as a person. Obviously, I just did what I did. I never tried to make it anything. I just did what I did. So I created this. My son says I created a monster because it's like becomes uncontrollable. So I stepped out, set up. Within days of setting up on my own, I got a funeral. Okay, didn't have a premises, didn't have anything. I was working out of a room. And the pastors in the community came out to help me. And I thought, wow. They wouldn't, I've never heard them do this for anybody. So they came out to help me. Pastor Daisy from Prophecy Church, Pastor Mullins from.
So as you weren't realising.
So they came and stepped out to help me. So that made that easier for me. So in the end. It just started to grow, and I ended up getting the premises, and then got and all the facilities that I need to be able to look after the community properly.
So even though you didn't realise that the community were taking you under the wing, almost,
and then something, I must have been dumb because I never saw it.
No, you just probably.
But I just didn't take it for granted. I just thought, something, I'm here to help and I want to help. So I'm now 5-6 years into this, at the wrong end of my life, because really. I'm at the end where my wife, is thinking we're going to retire and put our feet up. And I'm sort of in the thick of this. And things are happening. And, when you think, oh, well, it's going to wind down a little bit or whatever, it's still going and it's still going strong and people are still asking for us. And I do all my funerals in Moss Side, but my funeral home's in Gatley.
Right, okay.
So... They pass a lot of funeral directors to come to me, and that tells me a lot because ultimately, it's who you are and what you do.
Yeah, but you put like a special touch on it. So what's your you like to put on me because I know you get a plate of food at every.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, innit? I don't just drop. See, I used to call it dump and run. So what funeral directors do is they take you to the cemetery and they're like, oh, come on, hurry up, I want to go, whatever. Take you back to Westwood Street, dump you, and they run. I take you back to Westwood Street and I go in and get something to eat. Sit down, have a chat with people, and something without being.
That's good.
You do a lot of work though because people come, Paul. I need my headstone sorting out. Can you help me out? And this is just sat there having a cup of soup and a bit of curry goat. So that's what I started to do. Go back and chat to people and just sit down and listen. And somebody said, I want this doing. Can you do it? And I'd help them out.
We're talking to you. Just sound like a normal Manchester lad.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And if you can help, you help. And if you can't help, you can't. But you just make the effort and listen to somebody. Sometimes listening to somebody helps. And if somebody listens to you when you're in a struggling, it helps. And that's how it started. As I say, the plate of food thing. I get people who cook for funerals do me a wrap up to take home. So when I get back after the funeral, I've got like, I have a cup of soup, something to eat, and I've got my tea at the night
food,
as well.
to tuck into. Have you got any advice for anyone who might want to get into the whole funeral game?
The thing with funerals is, me personally, I don't think you should come into funerals if you think you're guaranteed work or guaranteed to make money, because them are the two things that it's not about.
Okay.
Because if you're not there prepared to help in the time of somebody's need, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you all you think about is, well, I'm gonna there's a coffin at such a price, but when he comes in, I'll sell him that big casket.
Yeah.
We never offer a casket to anybody. We go, that'll do you the job.
Yeah.
But if you want a casket, I can sell you one.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost you. But that's fine. So it's what your perception is about funerals. Do you want to help?
Yeah, just to get closer to the mic, I think. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Do you want to help, or do you want to do it for a different reason?
Yeah.
So if you want to help and you want to, then you will do like what I did. I volunteered, really, didn't I? I know I was making a program, but you went in there, you offered your help, and then eventually something cropped up. And then you just make a niche for yourself.
Okay.
So you show me how to do something. I learn how to do it off you, and then I do it my way.
And do
so
it,
that
put
people will
twist.
go, I like the way he does it, or I like the way you do it, whichever.
Okay.
You make a niche for yourself. So.
Okay.
But there's a lot of regulation changes since I first started.
Right.
So just walking into somewhere isn't the same now.
What do you mean regulations? What kind of boxes would you have to tick?
Funerals was unregulated.
Yeah.
So you could open a funeral home anywhere you wanted.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, now it's regulated by the government. So you can't do that. You need to have premises, you need to have facilities, and you have an inspection.
Okay.
So somebody comes in and goes, right, where's your documents for this? Where's your documents for looking after the deceased? How do you follow a deceased from coming into your care to going on a funeral?
Well, you said before, you actually pick the body up and
all
do
the way through. So we have to have log documentation for that.
Okay.
Do we have mortuary facilities like a hospital?
Yeah.
You've got, so you're inspected, your equipment, your meat, your machinery.
Okay.
So if you're not prepared to do all of that and just think it's, a quick in and out and I make a few quid, then you're in the wrong game. You're in the wrong game. Because it's caring that matters.
Yeah. Just on that last little thing, what's your is it? Should we say the ethos? Is it ethos?
Well, on our window at the office, it has got Paul Hilton Funeral Services, and it says dignity, honesty, and respect. And them are the three basic things. And if you have them three things and treat somebody like they're your own family, I don't think you'll go wrong. No matter who you are, if you wanted to do it, as long as you've got the dignity of the deceased, the honesty with the family, and the respect for the community, and you treat people like they're your own family, then to me, you could do the job as long as you follow that ethos.
Right.
On that note, but just appreciate you coming. Well, obviously, we know that because you buried my dad as well, innit? So I just appreciate everything that you've done. But nice one, Paul, for coming in.
No problem, respect,
Nice
take care, all right, take care.
All right, thank you.
Nice one, Paul.